Call our Danville City Commission regular meeting to order today. Today is Monday, November the 25th, 2024, 5:30. I want to welcome you citizens and you visitors to our town and to our meeting tonight, and hopefully you'll see us take care of some exciting city business tonight. So with that said, I'd like to have a word of prayer and a pledge of allegiance to the flag this evening. I'll do the prayer, and then someone else can do the pledge of allegiance. And instead of a prayer, well, it's still a prayer, but I'd like to just request a moment of silence in the chamber tonight. We've had lots of exciting things happen in our community, but we also lost lots of very important key people in our community over the last 2 weeks. So let's do a moment of silence in honor of the Thanksgiving season and in respect for those who lost loved ones here recently. Thank you all. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. What'd you say? Call that Eagle Scout up here to lead the pledge? Somebody volunteered you to say the pledge. Come on over here. You got to come over here. Got to be seen by the camera. Your dad told me to do that to you. No, I didn't. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, sir. Oh, yeah, give him a door prize, Donna. Give him a door prize. Come back here, sir. Oh. Since Commissioner Pete singled you out, man, so. Thanks again. Next on our agenda is the approval of the agenda as presented, but I'd like to approve the agenda with as modified. I'd like to omit item number 2. The CVB is not going to do an update tonight, so Chair would entertain a motion to approve the amended agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. So the agenda as amended has been approved. Thank you all. So next item on the agenda is an update by our Danville Board County Development Corporation. Mr. Harris, you want to come forward?
Do you hear the public?
Oh, did I skip here to public? Oh, wow. Sorry about that. Commissioner Peak has reminded me about hear the public. And this is this point in our meeting where we hear from the public, and we only hear from the public about items on our agenda at this point. So if there's anyone who is desiring to speak to the commission, please raise your hands, be recognized, and we'll let you talk to us about items on the agenda. Hearing and seeing none, then we'll move right along. Sorry about that. Mr. Harris?
Mayor, Commission, staff, thank you very much. It's our pleasure to give you a brief update on our activities so far this year. There's been a lot going on. As you're aware, Cody made an announcement back in October that they were going to be closing their plant November 30th. And with that, 266 of our friends and neighbors would be losing their positions. So we went into high-speed mode and contacted the cabinet. We did a rapid response, and Harold will talk a little bit more about that. But in the meantime, what we've been doing is marketing that property and our workforce that's available. And we've had a lot of success in getting international and domestic companies interested. So far, we've had 4 facility tours. We've given these projects, which are likely projects, good prospects that have toured, the project name. So Project Viking was an international company that came to us through the cabinet. They've been here looking for a couple months in the States. They're an automotive supplier, and they could fill the actual building and could potentially hire 500 to 600 people, in addition to the workforce that was here. Project Ozark is a smaller company, domestic, that is looking for workforce and would hire and build a facility here. We have no buildings that could accommodate what they want. They want something smaller but needed taller ceilings. And then, let me see. Project Thanksgiving is another international company that's looking. We don't know exactly what they do. We're not privy to all the information, but we do have some local contacts that are helping work that. We have some other projects going on, retail, big box retailer, data center that's looking for information, a few small retail facilities, restaurants and things that have inquiries, and you typically get those, but you work them, they come, sometimes they come, sometimes they don't. We have a couple other projects that are interested in Cody. We just don't know about them. They're not mature enough, I say, would probably be the facility. Earl's worked with them, I've worked with one, so there's a few others out there, and I've got some more folks coming in this week to look at it. As an update, the Kentucky Product Development Initiative, through the EDA, we have submitted a grant for $1 million for the road project. Approximately 80% of that could be funded, and that'll be John H. Stegall Drive, which is off Corporate Drive, which will go between the Meggitt and Meggitt Parker facilities and open up additional lands, about 89 acres for development in the industrial park. In addition to that, we've worked with the EDA on facilitating property purchases, the Boyle County Industrial Foundation for marketing, promotion, development, sales, and maintenance. Worked on zoning and rezoning, some floodplain amendments for some of their properties. In addition to that, we also have our housing workforce committee, asset development personnel, and our industrial development council that we work with. I'm going to turn it over to Harold. He's going to talk a little bit about Cody and the job fair, and then Josh, he'll talk about small business development. Then I'll come back up and answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, JJ. As Mr. Harris said, that we got into fast mode as far as really responding and trying to help our neighbors and our friends at Cody. That was right on the heels of a previous job fair. So we turned around and put a lot of our effort into as far as the next job fair, which was specifically just for Cody. We ended up having 38 employers throughout the region and responding to that. As part of the rapid response, along with BCTC, Bluegrass Area Development District, we held several sessions as far as information sessions with Cody employees and talking about whether their benefits, where they can go. Of course, we promoted the job fair, which we had about 140 of their employees come through on that day on November the 7th. I mean, we literally put that together in probably less than 3 weeks in putting that job fair together. And I've done 4 of these previous, and it takes really a good 3 months to really put and coordinate everything. So speaking of that, we did have our regional job fair. That was on September the 26th. It was our fall. We had about 50 employers at the showroom. We estimated probably about 400 plus attendees, which of about 140 of those were high school students. We really take a concerted effort to get into our high schools. There were 5 high schools represented there that day: Bergen High School, Mercer County, of course Danville and Boyle County, and then Lincoln County. So really trying to work with students to help them explore as far as some different careers out there and get them interested in one, creating those opportunities and educating them about those opportunities here and keeping some of our folks here in Danville and Bull County. In the package that you have, there's an economic snapshot in there. Updated that. Everything's been checked. What was updated was number 2, the unemployment rate. That was 5.2, down from 5.6 back in the August numbers. And then if you look down at number 8, as far as the poverty rate, that percentage went up, which was kind of expected due to inflationary matters in that. So all in all, I will tell you that the regional job fairs are going very well. They've been well attended. The next one will be in March. March the 27th, 2025. It seems a little weird to say 2025, but that's the next one scheduled for the showroom. So with that, I'll pass it over to Josh.
Thank you. I'll try to, I didn't get my notes printed, I'll just mess them up. I'll talk briefly about our small business programs that we've been trying to build up. Please say, if you have not already heard, that we have our second ever Doing Business in Danville event that is on December 3rd. Starts at 5 p.m. for 2 hours, 5 to 7. It will be at Centerworks. The event is kind of designed to connect any new small business owners with the resources that are available in Danville and the people who administer those, so that we can better assist them. We will have refreshments, pizza, salad, drinks. We also ask that anyone who wishes to join RSVP with either myself or Mari Webb. She's also been sending out all of the invitations to anyone who has recently acquired a new business license. I also want to give a special thanks to Melanie Crossfield with the city, Jeff Jewell with the Chamber, Jennifer Gonder with Centerworks, who were really integral in getting this event set up and planned. We also have invited others outside of Danville to discuss some of the things that they have. So we've reached out to the Kentucky Cabinet for Economic Development. They have entrepreneurship small business wing, so we've requested that someone from there join us. We've also have Michael Ashcraft, who's planning to be there from the Small Business Administration, SBA, and Stuart Arnold with SBDC. I think it's the last thing in your packets there is the Jumpstart flyer. That's something we do in tandem with the Chamber of Commerce, and that's just an example of one of the things that we'll be discussing at this event. Essentially, what that program is if you're, say, starting a new business. Doesn't have to be a small business, but maybe you have a location, maybe you don't. But say you do, we'll get everybody who, all the hoops you're going to have to jump through. Codes enforcements, just pretty much everyone in one room, so they know, okay, this is who you need to talk to, and then it becomes a very positive kind of event where everybody's trying to get the project done. We've had a lot of good success with it. So things like that, incentives that may be available, or that's the type of information that we're sharing during the event. Also allowing for some networking, both with us and with each other. We're looking to plan additional events that are not just for new businesses necessarily, but maybe some trainings that might be out there. Maybe it's finance or marketing, and maybe turning that into a series, hopefully, in the spring. I would also invite any of you or any small business owners who might happen to hear this, just please send me RSVP response. It's josh@developdanville.com.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Harold. Thank you, Josh. In addition, Mayor and Council, I'd also like to note that we did send out 230 investor packets, and that's to get more business and industry motivated to join and help us in our cause. One of the things that was very important is we added a fourth job fair in our funding cycle for this year, which has already been done. And thank goodness we did, because Cody was announced and we were prepared to do that. We didn't have to do anything special. We had that rapid reaction to that. In addition to that, we've also submitted grants to Foundation for AT&T and LG&E, Kentucky Utilities. Also today, Kentucky has awarded 36 cannabis retail licenses in 9 different regions, but not ours and not Louisville. So we're in the Bluegrass region. Those will be, there's 1,200 and some odd applications for those 2 regions. December 16th, they will do a lottery for those drawings. So that's all I had on my information brief. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to address.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, you have any questions or comments?
AJ, that Ozark that you mentioned?
Yes, sir.
That are looking to build, did the Pad Ready site have any effect? I mean, is that one of the reasons they came, or?
Yes, sir,
is
it
that-
was.
Good.
So good question, sir. So what they did, one of the things that speed to market is going to be important for them. They have some sort of a production schedule of July, and what they need is a 30-foot tall ceiling, and they need about 80 to 90,000 square feet, is our understanding. We don't have any buildings to match that, but the developer that they were working with, through the marketing efforts that we had and local contacts, we will say, hey, there's a Pad Ready site, which is also on the state's website, that could speed to market. So we've been working with the Industrial Foundation. They've toured the site. They flew in. Actually, they flew into Lebanon and looked at a couple different sites, but other buildings, but our Pad Ready site was definitely on their list.
Good deal. Thank you.
Other questions or comments?
I might just ask real quick, Josh, you're working with a small business and entrepreneurship, helping people get along. Do you ever see somebody that looks like maybe I should advise them not to do that?
Well, I like, that's why I like SBDC. Stuart Arnold's great. Someone who's very good at helping them kind of flesh out their business plans. So I like I think he's usually where I would send them.
Okay, very good. I always hate to see companies fail.
Yeah. Other questions or comments?
Well, thank you for doing more to address the current businesses and making them successful and doing things for existing businesses. I think that's going to be something really fruitful. I do have a question. The Housing Committee, have they been kind of re-energized? Are they ever looking at different options? Like at our last conference, they had a little bit more more affordable manufactured housing or ready-made housing communities. Are there other options, or do you guys look for builders?
Yes, very good question, thank you. So through our outreach with our regional job fair, Clayton Homes, was it Clayton Homes? Which county? Lincoln County. They started a new facility there, so we wanted to partner with them to identify ways that we could get more affordable and maybe even modular structures up here. So our housing committee meets December 5th at 3 o'clock. So we continue to do that. And we did budget $50,000 for them for grant matches and to do some creative things. And they haven't met since earlier in the year, but there wasn't housing funding or enough information out there. But we're definitely keeping that as a focus because workforce development, or the housing for the workforce development is a priority.
Right. And I know those are banned in single-family areas, but they would be in their own area, correct?
Yes.
Is there zoning currently for any?
It depends on where you're looking
That
at.
type.
So other housing that we're looking at, working with, I mean, there's 140 some odd lots being developed now between some of the developments that are going on. Plus, there's 111 acres. Danville Host LLC is developing Center Estates right over there by cattlemen's. So that area is going to be multifamily and some single-family on the back side. So we've got a lot of housing development and lots in the works and a significant amount of private dollars going into the development. Now, of course, the city and municipalities putting in a lot of water and sewer to help support that. So there's a big focus on housing, whether it's single-family. And I think what you'll see in our next budget cycle, you'll look at ways that we can do downtown housing, maybe apartments on second and third stories that are hard to do right now because of accessibility, fire codes, things like that. So Main Street has a couple different housing programs out there, webinars that we're going to try and get some folks focused on.
Sounds like we're moving in the right direction.
There's a
That's
lot
great.
of investment and a lot of energy focused on that. Good question.
Other questions or comments to these guys? Hearing none, again, I want to say thanks and
Thank you. We
please
appreciate
continue to
your
work.
Good,
And
thank you.
Commissioner Holland, to your question, I think anytime we mention housing in this community, we we think about that thing about affordable workforce development housing at all different levels. So it's great to hear those things, that things are moving, so, good. Next on our agenda is an update from our Danville Small Town Christmas group of volunteers who are hard at work. I said volunteers, notice that?
We do need some more volunteers too, by
Yes,
the way.
ma'am, I understand. I got 4 for you.
Sounds good. I'm new to this, so I apologize if I stumble over anything. I've never been to one of these meetings
Don't worry,
before.
Kevin will guide you, don't worry. He'll guide you.
I'm grading you.
So of course, the event is coming up in 2 weeks on December the 7th. We have different activities going on from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m., which is part of what these funds are doing. Some of those activities are like bounce houses, a trackless train. We're going to be doing some Christmas crafts as well. And then some of that, of course, we have to have insurance for the event. We'll be getting some gift cards for winners of different categories. And the gift cards that we're purchasing are downtown local business gift cards for them to use. And some of those awards we're doing a tree decorating contest, so that will be down at Weisiger. We are going to be doing a family trivia competition that will be down at Weisiger as well. Four of those gift cards will go towards the award winners for the parade. We have two entries, one for best float and one's for judge's choice. And judge's choice is anything that is not considered a float. We have our wonderful participant as the head of our parade is going to be Mayor J.H. Adkins and Trilly Bottom. They'll be heading our parade this year. Some of the money also helps pay for Santa and Mrs. Claus. And then some of the more stuff behind the scenes, like an extra bathroom trailer that we'll put at 4th Street, insurance for the event, sound system and lights, and tables and tents. So far, we have 64 parade entrants. We're doing this year a local business showcase, which means nobody is going to be selling anything for their local business, but they can come out and showcase their business locally. Some of those will be at Weisiger, some of that will be at Constitution Square. We have 18 vendors that are setting up as well, who are purchasing their business license through the city of Danville if they have not done so already. We also have 10 food trucks that are going to be coming, and they are the same way that they have to purchase their business license through the city of Danville. And one of the other things that we're doing this year as well is we're doing a little swag bag for the kids. So they'll have like a little bag with a few things in it, and then we also are doing Christmas bingo, which will have some local businesses on it, and they have to show up to those local businesses, and whoever turns theirs in will be receiving a gift card as well. Not everybody, but we'll do a drawing, and whoever, does receive bingo will be doing a drawing for that.
Okay.
If you are interested, our website is a little long. I apologize. It's tinyurl.com/, Danville Small Town Christmas. We're also on Facebook and Instagram under the same handle as well. And so part of the marketing that we're doing, we are highly on social media with Facebook and Instagram. So we are doing some of the paid ads on Facebook to get it out, spread it, further out into the community. We're also on the radio, and then we have some print that's going to be coming out late this week or early next week, and that we're also going to be sending out, actually with the children at the local schools. They're going to be taking it home to their families. So they'll be able to take it home and everybody see it. So we're spreading the word as far as we can, and we'll actually be on WKYT this Wednesday as well, too. On Good Morning Kentucky. I think it starts at 10:30, something like that.
Well, I'm sure I missed this, but what time is the parade scheduled to start?
The parade is scheduled to start at 6:30.
6:30.
I don't think I mentioned that. I apologize.
It's all right. You said you were new at this.
I am new at
Kevin didn't
this.
step up, did he?
And the parade route is to start at the corner here of College Street in Maine. They'll come up Main Street, stop in front of City Hall to showcase their submission if they are being judged, and the parade will continue on and stop being viewed at the corner of 2nd Street and Main.
Good. Any questions or comments?
You're welcome. We appreciate it. Hopefully it will be a good night. It's been a lot of work, but it's been humble and great to experience all of this. So
Yeah.
we're hoping for a really good turnout, so.
Well, and then thank you and the committee for the efforts.
Well, thank you all as well.
But also, you did not mention anything about the great weather that you had planned for that day.
I'm hoping to have great weather, but we do have a rain date, and it is the day after on December the 8th if
Don't need
the
to-
weather doesn't turn out. But the weather is going to turn out this year,
All right.
hopefully.
Appreciate that. Okay, other questions or comments?
Thanks.
Thank you all.
Thank you all again, yes. Next item is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. The Chair would entertain a motion.
I move to accept the minutes of the previous meeting, which was 11/12/24, a special call meeting.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any corrections, additions, or deletions to the minutes? Hearing none, Chair calls for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, likewise, motion carries. Thank you. Next item is Resolution 2024-11-2501. Cancellation of the 2nd December City Commission meeting. Huh.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. You wanna-
I was gonna make a motion to have it, but you said you
Okay.
make a motion to not have it, right?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution 2024-11-2501.
Which is a cancellation of our 2nd December meeting, which is tradition for this commission, right? Is there a second?
Second here.
Sir, any questions, any discussions, any opposition? Hearing none, all those in favor of passing this resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Next item is report from our city manager, Mr. Kaufman.
Thank you, Mayor Commissioners. We will keep it brief in deference to some of the other agenda items, but we would mention that the dates, the 29th, as you know, the tree lighting, Thanksgiving is this week, the December 7th as known, and then the next commission meeting is December 9th. We'll wrap up the regular schedule for the year for the most part. There is a celebration committee for America's 250th that's formulating. They're trying to meet, and so we will attend that and let you know, report back to you kind of how that's taking shape and what's going to be involved with that. We got a request from the fiscal court, and I think the fiscal court is heading up the group, and so we're going to attend and get back to you on that. And if you have any questions, we'll learn together. Would like to point out that we've have sent this evening a financial report for October 31st to you, so you should have that when you get out of the meeting tonight. And what I'd like to do, since that's the first quarter, is maybe meet with you if you have any questions next week sometime, and whether or not you have any questions or not, to look at where we're at for the fiscal year. And so we'll try to schedule a time with you next week with myself and at least, and then we'll go through our financials together and just to make sure we're all on the same page with where we're at in the fiscal year we're in. The numbers that we see are consistent with the budget with where we're at to date. I think the revenue you'll see is about 31%, which is about where it would be this time of year, first quarter. Some of the taxes don't come in the first quarter and they get caught up the second quarter. So we feel good about that. And expenses are tricking along without capital included right at that 34% number, 33% range. And so we feel good about where it's at today, but we're certainly going to be mindful as we go forward. And since you all are not looking at it right now, we won't linger on that, and we will offer ourselves if you all have any questions for us. Otherwise, we will try to reach out to you next week and catch a time to sit down and talk.
Okay.
Okay. Are you going to email us individually?
I'll reach out to you, get scheduled. This has already been sent to you.
Oh, it has?
Yeah,
Okay.
this evening while you've been in the meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen it. Thank you.
No, you wouldn't. You'll see it tomorrow.
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Coffey?
You think the audit may be at the next meeting? Or are we still just waiting?
Lee, would you like to address that?
They are at the draft portion. They have a review process. Mr. Dexter, the next day or two, may receive what's called a legal representation letter, which is what is kind of their final step in the process. And they provide you a date, and if they go past that date, it's a problem because then they have to redo some steps. And that letter is dated for December 9th. So I don't know that they'll have the actual final copy for the meeting because it's on the 9th, but it should be issued in December.
Thank you, ma'am. Other questions or comments for our city manager? Is that all that you have?
That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. All right, we're at that stage in our agenda where we have our second hear the public opportunity. And at this stage, again, be recognized 3 minutes or less, and you can talk to the commission about things that are not on the agenda. Wow, seeing none? Okay, we'll move right along. Thank you all. Commissioner comments? The next item on our agenda.
You gonna say something about the dedication, the trail dedication, Rick?
The what?
The trail dedication yesterday at the.
Stanford Road.
Yeah, Stanford Road.
The what now?
Saturday, the trail dedication, Saturday.
Oh, okay, sure, yeah, I'll talk about that, yeah. Trying to remember if we're forward or backward on this, yeah. So, had the safety crossing on Stanford Road. And we dedicated that it connects two trails, the Clark's Run Trail to the Henson Trail, but probably more about the dedication than the new road was honoring the Finkeys, who were real instrumental in bringing the deaf and hearing communities together through running, and also the Henson family, and one of the family that slips my mind right now, but they all gave us easement so we could get these trails done. But it was a nice little gathering, and we got a ribbon cutting and some pictures, and yeah, really it's safer out there.
And it was cold outside. But worth the effort, though. And I want to thank our own Parks and Rec and the Parks and Rec Committee, and thank Mr. Morgan for all that effort, all that work and effort that was put forth by a lot of volunteers. Other comments from the commission?
I was just gonna, Donna may, perhaps we're gonna hit on this, but I just wanted to congratulate Polk County on their season. I know it didn't end the way they wanted to, but they had a great run and made us proud in the area. And I hate it for the seniors, but they'll carry on, I'm sure.
Yeah. Thank you for that, sir. Anyone else? Well, let's move right along then. Wow. You almost got turkey on the brain or something. Y'all quiet tonight, man. Next item is paying of the bills. Chair will entertain a motion to, excuse me, pay the bill list as presented. They're fumbling papers, I hear that now.
I'll make a motion to approve the bill list in the amount of $461,855.17 as presented.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a
Second.
second? Thank you, sir. Any questions about the bill list?
I just had one question. The two bike racks for $761, are they on Main Street?
Probably, we haven't really picked a final location yet. We needed to get
Okay.
some for City Hall. I've had a few requests lately for City Hall. We don't
Okay.
have any bike racks here. So I ordered, I could get a better price if I ordered 6 instead of just 2. So we went ahead and got 6 total. We'll find a couple locations along the streetscape, different. We need to freshen up the ones at the parking garage. They've got a lot of age on them and they're not really appropriately placed. Earl and I haven't even discussed this yet, but I was thinking the parking garage is a home for a couple of them, but we'll find some locations for them.
Okay, great. I wondered, I hadn't seen them yet, so.
They're identical to the streetscape. I ordered identical ones to the streetscape bike racks that are in, that can be bolted to the top of the concrete instead of poured in the concrete. So that's what they'll look like.
Great. Other questions? You have a question?
I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Lee, I was going to ask you, I did find it. It's one for IJW Whiskey Company.
The 86,000?
Yeah, and it's from 2022.
Yes, so unfortunately, fortunately for them, unfortunately for the city, when a business amends their tax return, they have a period of time they can amend their return, and we are refunding them for overpayments on their net profit account from that tax year.
Okay.
So unfortunately, they can go back. I've fought that one, but unfortunately, I was wrong, so.
Other questions, comments? Hearing none, let's carry the motion. All those in favor of paying our bills, say aye.
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 Those opposed, thank you. Motion carries. Next item is Resolution 2024-11-2502, the Herrick C. Change Order Number 3. Mr. Carrier. Oh, he's
Thank you, Mayor. Snuck up on you here. This is agenda items in relation to change order number 3. This is for the Spears Creek Pump Station, ongoing work that we've got. It's just north of the 2168 roundabout area. This is to address various electrical project components, includes relocation of planned electrical transformer, electrical modifications for telemetry, HVAC, SCADA, and installation of electric hoists for future pump maintenance. This does not change contract completion date, so I've attached some various information from the contractor and a description from our engineering consultant, HDR, that further details some of the costs. The total cost for this change order is $59,560 from capital, but one thing I wanted to point out, if you remember back when we first started this project, a couple months into it, back in March, I want to say, of this year, we actually had a deduct change order of $100,000. That was some credits that we got for changing over from one particular type of valves to another, 2 18-inch valves and 1 12-inch valve to a different type of valve. We actually did that because we got Buy America, Build America, some exemptions on that if we were able to do that, which we applied for, and they granted our opportunity to do that. So early in the project, we saved about $100,000. So this comes out of that $100,000 savings. So that, whatever 100,000 minus 59, so that's $40,440. So is the difference right now that we've still got credit towards the project. So if we have future change orders on the project, it will certainly come out of that value instead of being a plus for the project itself, so.
Good. Okay. Any questions, comments? Chair would like to entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
Moving to approve Resolution 2024-112502.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. Any further discussion, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you all. Marcia, you have the next one also. First reading of ordinance number 2043.
So this agenda item is in relation to an ongoing conversation that Earl and I have been participating in with some folks along the 150 corridor, in particular, some water service providers along the corridor, Stanford, Crab Orchard, Broadhead, and various others, which they're listed in this discussion too. But I wanted to kind of put together a brief presentation that we've actually brought to the potential members of the commission and to openly discuss with them what, probably the ultimate vision is for what we're talking about as far as the US 150 Waterline Commission. So, and I want to just briefly pull it up here. It's just a couple slides, so I won't bore you all too much. But the project corridor essentially is what it says it is. So you got Danville here, you got Stanford here, all the way into Mount Vernon. It's about a 30-mile, potentially 30-mile installation of an 18-inch water main. And I wanted to go ahead and show kind of, this is obviously a very exaggerated scale, but the contours of the terrain to get all the way up into Mount Vernon. It's kind of hard to really get a feel for that when you're driving into Mount Vernon, but it's actually quite a bit higher elevation than the surrounding area. So one thing that this does kind of bring in a perspective of, EPA, Division of Water likes to look at projects also that the intent is to keep the water within its own watershed, right? So you got the Lake Harrington watershed all the way back here, but that encompasses a large area in this general vicinity. So this kind of gives you an idea that the work that we be doing, whether it's water or sewer related in the future or whatever, it's always good to try to keep that water in that same watershed. Some key project aspects. Obviously water availability and infrastructure along any corridor is vital, not only to the water infrastructure itself, but lack of overall water supply. So we broke this down into really primarily 3 project goals. Water availability along the 150 corridor, which there is none right now. It's sporadic in nature, but primarily along the primary 150 corridor itself from Danville all the way to Mount Vernon, there's very limited water supply for clean drinking water. And then lack of redundancy for multiple water systems throughout that corridor. So if water providers that already exist along that corridor, Crab Orchard, Stanford, and so on, if they have water capacity problems in the future or have main breaks in the future, there's not a secondary reliable water source for them to draw on in times of need. It's not uncommon that we may have some water providers during drought seasons reach out to us, the city of Danville, and say, hey, we need to pull some water from you guys to help accommodate our capacity needs in our system. And of course, we work with them to do that, but it's not uncommon that happens. It's just kind of a testament to sometimes the capacity issues that some providers have along the corridor. And then reliable and clean drinking water, obviously that's certainly an important issue for most any community, especially any community that's looking to possibly grow in the future from an economic standpoint. So growth is one side of that conversation, but also the availability to clean drinking water, just for sanitary purposes, is also an important aspect of that too. Health benefits for the public, and provide regulatory compliance. So I wanted to have a couple of these bullet points in here to talk about too. When you think about regulatory compliance and permitting oversight, Division of Water likes to have that under a single entity if possible. So if the goal is to get a clean drinking water line and water capacity and provision of water from here all the way into Mount Vernon. The Division of Water would like to see that under one entity, and the commission satisfies that desire of Division of Water from a regulatory, as opposed to having multiple jurisdictions that have to pursue their own permit and maintain operations and maintenance and so on and so on. If it's under the same umbrella, Division of Water likes that.
Who actually controls the water? Does each system still have ultimate control over its
As a
system?
commission, they will. Essentially, they'll have a seat at the table. By doing exactly what we're doing here tonight, each system is going through the process of generating their ordinance or their resolution to have a seat at the table, so to speak. So,
Yes, so Commissioner Caudill, if each individual supplier, if they have water available and wish to sell it to the commission, it can choose to do that on its own.
Okay.
Yeah, that's an individual decision for any supplier.
and then, of course, we talked a little bit about economic growth, capacity for industrial development along the 150 corridor, and leverage right-of-way availability along the corridor. So with the width of that existing 150 right-of-way corridor, there's a lot of this particular line that could go in within the right-of-way limits. Of course, you'll have to vary inside and out of those right-of-way limits, but it's certainly a benefit to have something in place already, such as the right-of-way limits of the 150 corridor to install a lot of this water line. And then increased benefit cost ratio for construction. So as you can imagine, you get better prices when you're doing a larger scale project, right? Instead of breaking it up into multiple projects. It can still be phased out, but if you're doing it multiple projects under the administration of multiple districts, it's a whole lot more difficult to get good pricing for materials and unit-based costs out of that. Whereas if you did it under one entity, like a commission, for example, you could do phases of the same contract and still get better pricing overall out of a 30-mile project as opposed to multiple 5 and 10-mile projects, if that makes sense. So, system administration. So, what are the goals of what we're trying to do? One of the goals, obviously, is not only provide clean drinking water along the corridor, but also provide water capacity for a large development, the Rockcastle County mega site, which has gained a lot of attention on a national spectrum simply because of its geographic location, but its proximity to the interstate system and its geographic location in relation to UPS hubs and so on and so on. So it's become more and more in the spotlight from a national perspective, thanks to the efforts of the EDA and I guess it's the Lincoln Garrett Rockcastle Consortium Group that's been having a lot of these conversations on a national perspective, and they've gotten a lot of interest out of it. So one of the primary things is gas provision, which is already in place along the 150 corridor, but one of the major drivers is, can we get enough water into the area to supplement industry for a site this large? And when I say water into the area, we're probably in the ballpark of 3 to 5 million gallons a day. So there's really very few providers in the immediate region around Rockcastle County that can provide that. Just Danville happens to be one of those. We have capacity in Lake Harrington to provide such capacity for something like this. So the next question is, well, how do we get water to the site, right? And we're 30 miles away. At what cost? You know, who's going to own and operate it? How's it going to be funded? O&M, what about eminent domain, that type of stuff. So the Water Commission, and I gave you all some copies of the KRS information just for reference to at least 2 or more cities, water districts, or water associations, or federal agencies. So right now, we've got us at the City of Danville Utilities, Stanford Utilities, McKinney Water District, Crab Orchard Utility, Broadhead Utility, Western Rockcastle Water, and Mount Vernon Utility. So a lot of these utilities already have some type of water capacity in their system. It's just, this would give them the benefit to accommodate lack of capacity in their system during dry periods, or able to help them provide, you know, additional information and conversation from an economic standpoint for future discussions. So This will simply just help them provide their capacity needs as much as anything, as well as the clean drinking water. Governing body of each adopt a resolution of ordinance, which is what we're doing here tonight. Commission is reasonably necessary or advantageous for the public health, convenience, and comfort of the customers of all the water systems by each governing body. So we've essentially worked with some legal counsel to provide draft ordinance language and resolutions to each of these entities right here. And I think Broadheads actually already has theirs in place, and the others are following suit in the coming weeks. Operation, who's going to operate and maintain? So the authority by the commission by KRS 74.460. They could contract with Danville for operations and maintenance and supply. And then as far as the rate setting, the KRS covers that also to cover principal and interest, O&M, reserves, and depreciation. Commission will be responsible for DOW compliance, which I touched on that earlier. And another lingering question on something like this is, well, it sounds great and good to go along the 150 corridor, but if you have to get outside of that corridor, what type of powers does that commission have now that in the future, once it's formed, to be able to bring that water line from point A to point B? And some of the challenges would be if it were to go outside of that 150 corridor right away, if you get onto privately owned property, then you may have run into issues as far as easement acquisitions to put the water line in. But with this KRS, in the formation of the commission, it gives the eminent domain power to the commission. So now, in a perfect world, you would never have to use that or leverage that, but there are going to be instances in a 30-mile stretch of a water line that you're going to have to lean into the eminent domain aspect of it to get the water line completed. Otherwise, you can have multiple locations along the same water line that becomes a stalemate as far as delivery of the overall project. Public Service Commission regulations, according to the KRS, in the creation of the commission would not fall under KRS according to 74.510. And then must contract with the commission. Those entities must contract with the commission to draw. You can have it set up as a minimum buy and a maximum buy for any of the different water entities that are going to be purchasing water. That way it gives you an overall understanding of total capacity at the end of the line. Doesn't mandate exclusive supply. So that KRS 74.510 pretty much says, you know, this is a new water line coming through your area, but it doesn't mandate you as this being the only exclusive supply for that. If you have some of those entities that I talked about earlier may have purchase agreements among themselves as far as getting raw water and treated water from the local neighbors in that area, the neighboring jurisdictions in that area. And this won't take away from that. This will stand on its own and allow them to still keep those agreements in place. This is as much as anything, like I said, to provide additional capacity as needed by those individuals. And then cannot serve individual customers. So that primarily says that this is a transmission line in nature, and you can't have John Doe's house, tied into this particular line. This has to go through the proper channels, and it would have to be, in the future, step one is to get all these entities tied in the capacity there. In the future, there could be discussions as far as larger developments off of this, but it wouldn't be an individual customer, so to speak. The primary goal of what we're doing here is to get water provision through the corridor and into Western Rockcastle. And then I had one of our consultants put together some possible figures. You're talking about an 18-inch line, 159 roughly 1,000 linear feet of an 18-inch line, multiple hydrants, multiple booster pump stations, storage tanks, traffic control, miscellaneous construction, so on and so on. So you're talking about a pretty large figure right here. And one of the good things about the commission is that it gives you a more tangible approach to seek federal and state dollars that may be out there, because it's contained within the guise of the commission itself. So it gives you better legitimacy in those conversations to seek funds in the future. And then this is just a map to kind of give the viewer a perspective of the different systems that this particular water line will be running through. So you got City of Danville, Stanford, Mount Vernon down here. You got Crab Orchard, Broadhead, Western Rockcastle. So that was just kind of a visual interpretation of the various water districts that this proposed line would travel through. So if you all have any additional questions, we can certainly discuss them.
Something you mentioned on the previous page, I guess, had a flushing hydrant that differs from a fire hydrant, right?
Yeah. So a flushing hydrant is primarily for water quality maintenance. So we have flushing hydrants around Bull County. And lots of times those don't have what will be quote-unquote fire capacity. Those are just primarily to, at the ends of some of the dead-end lines, you would just have a flush hydrant at the end of some of those lines and be able to pull clean water through and maintain your chlorine residual for clean drinking water.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments?
I might comment that this certainly is more about regional economic development than Danville selling water.
Sure.
Yeah.
And there is legitimacy in that conversation, always. It's really a couple different aspects to this. One is clean drinking water, but the obvious other benefit of this is potential economic viability along the entire corridor, which doesn't currently have, for the majority of the corridor, doesn't have access to clean drinking water as it stands today. So there's large areas through there. You get out towards Cedar Creek Lake and through that region of Lincoln County and further into Rockcastle County, and there's large portions of the 150 corridor that has zero water along the corridor.
So say it real succinctly for the audience. We have been working with utilities along the corridor, and the idea is forming a water commission to develop the idea of creating a pipeline that each utility could choose to get water from down the road. The question in front of the commission is whether or not you want to be a foundational member in that commission to work towards that objective. If you're not a foundational member, you just lack a voting right, and you really can't get that in the future from what I remember some of the conversation. So staff couldn't find an objection to becoming a member to heading in that direction. Doesn't obligate the city's finances. It doesn't obligate the city's water system necessarily to do anything other than what the city of Danville is bringing to the table is an opportunity for the utility commission to purchase water from the city. Also, the discussion so far has been whether or not the city could through a contract, manage the maintenance of the line in the future. And Marshall and I couldn't really see a path where we would necessarily recommend not doing that, because, I mean, it would be funded with whatever contract you do. And so, I don't know, I was trying to think of a way to say that more simply, but then you start talking about it and you get into the details. So I'm trying to avoid that.
Yeah.
Just so it makes sense at a high level. This is not the city of Danville municipal utility building a water line. This is the city of Danville being asked to participate in the formation of a new utility commission. And if it chooses to do so, then this is the sole purpose of that entity. This is the objective of that entity.
I mean, I'll speak for me. You all been talking about this for a while, you said.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's a lot to take in for my first time really seeing it. So that I would like to, I guess, if you held off and did it the 9th, to have more time to discuss it with you or with Marshall or,
Well, so let's talk about that. So it has gotten to here as quickly as the various utilities could get to an agreement on their part. So it didn't, for Marshall and I, we really didn't have necessarily an opinion on pro or con. It was more, what does everybody else think? So it got to here. The pressure that the others, particularly the folks in Rockcastle County, feel pressure from is trying to make sure they're in front of the state budget cycle. It's not a budget, the state legislature meeting to seek, to put themselves in a position to seek state funding for some of the infrastructure costs. So saying that, what I would suggest to you is it's an ordinance.
right,
So maybe if you're not objecting, do the first reading, and then let's dive into that next week together as we meet and talk about the budget report that I'd like to talk to you about. We can set aside some time with Marshall to do a deeper dive into this, and then if you want to back out or if you want to delay further, your first reading would at least be done and you wouldn't lose that 2-week window. So what my fear is, in other words, is this: getting to January and needing to have the first reading and then not being able to confirm to your potential partners by then kind of puts you behind a little bit.
you could do a second reading in December after our first meeting, I mean, close to it if, I mean, that's.
Yeah,
up to the
well, I mean,
commission.
it's 6 and 1/2 dozen the other. I mean, as you're holding your second reading until you're ready to do it.
Right.
But at the same time, if you reach a conclusion where the majority of the commission wants to go ahead and act by the 9th, then you're positioned ready to do that on the 9th. Do you see what I mean? Like, so if it was a single act thing, then we'd probably suggest just waiting and making sure that you're comfortable in the next 2 weeks. But because it does require 2 readings, what we would suggest is if you're not opposed, then proceeding with the first reading and then coming back in 2 weeks if you want to consider it again. If you want to wait beyond that and have a special call meeting in December for the second reading, we certainly could. I just wouldn't want to put the pressure on that necessarily. Does that make sense? I mean, trying to have the first reading just removes that need.
One
Marshall,
thing-
remind us, didn't we pass a resolution at our prior meeting regarding the commission's initial intent to proceed with this matter?
See, I thought that might have been the case. I want to say it was October the 28th, I
Okay.
think, commission, but
I don't know, maybe the city clerk can look at that agenda, but I know that a resolution was prepared regarding this matter for your initial review and authority to proceed in this matter. So if that's being said, I know, because we prepared that resolution, we also prepared sample resolutions for the other entities that desired to coalesce around a potential project. And my recollection is that this body approved that either at your last meeting or sometime in October, and then this ordinance is then before you with the additional information. With that being said, we signaled to our other partners, and the other partners have signaled to us a desire to proceed in some fit or fashion. And in order to accommodate the timeline that the other partners have been conveyed to us and us to them, which is why this is before you today in this format, to at least get it on track to completion. And if it doesn't happen, then it doesn't happen. But we would advise to continue to educate while we proceed forward, since the resolution has already been passed by this commission, giving the green light to proceed.
It's akin to some 20 years ago when the Bluegrass Water Supply Consortium met and became a coalition of all the local utilities around Lexington to evaluate whether or not to build collectively a water plant somewhere and to investigate ways that it could increase the capacity into Fayette and Lexington and Kentucky American's watershed. Ultimately, so the city joined that initially, the city of Danville joined that initially, before later withdrawing and allowing it to continue. And I think ultimately that consortium fell apart, and Kentucky American built what is today known as the Owenton plant on the Kentucky River, which now provides the capacity upgrade for that central Kentucky watershed, not north of the river, north of Garrett County. So this is one of those where you can join initially. If you don't like it, you can always withdraw. If it goes too far forward, joining later becomes a challenge. Joining later, with that vote on that commission, I think is critical, that the city of Danville has a vote on that commission. And so for that reason, we found it reasonable to continue down the path of being a founding member so that you get a vote, so that you're part of the process to decide. And then you can always, like I said, similar to the Bluegrass Water Supply Consortium that existed, is you can always withdraw as it seems like it's not in the favor of the city to participate.
Other questions or comments? Well, this whole project starts at Herndon Lake.
The entire watershed, Harrington goes to Broadhead. I mean, the Dix River goes there. So it's part of what Marshall was trying to communicate with the one image is that, so if you sell water inside of that watershed and it goes through a wastewater plant, so for example, Danville's water through its wastewater plant is 100% recycled. The wastewater plant discharge is at or the same as the water plant production. And so that water is discharged from the wastewater plant into Clark's Run about at the headwaters to the Lake Harrington. So, I mean, we recirculate 100% of our water here. Well, by maintaining water in that watershed, we're continuing to do that in the Dix River watershed. It's just a little bit different scale. So there's a lot of advantages. The biggest advantage is maintaining your role as a partner, as a foundational partner, so that you can participate in the guidance of it.
So I guess to the commission, we have two options on the table tonight. One is to table this, and the second one would be to proceed with the first reading, and then have 2 weeks for more research and discussion, and come back at the December meeting to move it forward, or at that point, we could
Table
turn
it
down as
again.
well.
Yes, you could table it on the 9th or move it forward.
Seems like to me this project, way it's presented tonight, if we're not a part of it, then it's not gonna probably go. But if we're not a part of it, someone else is gonna be regulating the cost of the water and the cleanliness of the water that comes out of the lake, that we'll be taking out of the lake anyway, but so we might as well be a part of. We take it out and we assist the whole 9 yards of getting from here all the way to Rockcastle County. Then we'll give up our right to have input and control of what happens to the water.
Yep.
So some of these other water companies, they get their water out of Harrington Lake too, like Stanford and,
No, Stanford does not. Most,
Not unless they're purchasing from
Yeah,
us.
unless
which
they're a
they've
wholesale
done.
purchaser.
Yeah, they have an emergency connection on Stanford Road. When they have a drought condition, they purchase from Danville already.
okay, so nobody on the list gets their water from Harrington Lake except us? Okay. Yeah, I had a lot of questions, too. I don't remember the resolution, so if you could
The
send it
clerk
to
just,
us.
it was prepared and her notes reflected that it was taken off the agenda and added as an item under the city manager's report.
Yeah,
So it was relayed to you. What meeting was that, Ashley? It was the 28th meeting, but it was not in resolution format, so it was conveyed to you.
Yeah,
by that.
we had originally thought that a resolution would be sufficient, but then as time passed, the ordinance became the preferred method of foundation, which is why, that's right, I remember. We did talk about it, we did mention it, and since then, this is the next step instead of a resolution. Yeah.
And it was listed on the city manager
We
report?
talked about the idea during the city manager report, yeah. Probably not, obviously not to the depth that we are tonight, because we weren't
I think that's.
asking for motion and asking for action, yeah.
and overall, the conversation's been productive with all the folks that are listed there on that map. And, I think everybody's in agreement, at least from our previous meetings with these folks, that there is a need for something like this, and there is a tangible benefit for everyone involved.
And we don't pay for it, right?
It is specifically, excuse me, it is specifically listed on the written city manager's report, the discussions with the 6 water utilities. I mean, just for clarification, since we're clearing it up, that it says utility partnerships working to address supply questions for Lincoln County, meetings with 6 other utilities along the 150 corridor, ideas and discussion forthcoming. And that was listed on the city manager's report for that meeting. So that's when the subject was first broached. And, you know, I'm sorry, my memory was flat on that. I remember preparing the documents for it, and we pulled them for just future discussion, but under under an ordinance format as opposed to a resolution.
And we don't spend any money? Or?
Well, that's,
I guess
that's one of the goals of creating the commission is.
To get the
is
grants.
Acquisition of funds in the future. You know, it would be under the legal entity of the commission itself. It wouldn't be the city of Danville going to get funds or Stanford going to get funds. It's the US 150 Waterline Commission acting as one body to go and acquire, whether it's state or federal dollars or whatever.
Okay, and then we wouldn't do it without the federal dollars. We're not going to use our money, right?
No.
Okay.
Well, there's always some of our money to
Well,
a
yeah.
project this size.
But not 60
Not 60
million.
million, right. Okay.
No, this is not a City of Danville project.
Yeah,
And
that's
say-
right.
Just to
Yeah.
repeat that, this will be you are forming a commission as one of 7, I think 7 partners.
Yep.
The commission would be the entity to engage in any project expenses, any of those expenses and costs and
And that's the Water Commission, just
that is the
specifically.
Water Commission, yes, I'm sorry. The Water Commission. This is not a City of Danville budgeted project at all. This is, are you going to participate in the formation of a new entity that doesn't exist? This new entity cannot have retail customers. It cannot have individual customers like homes. So there's no homes along that corridor that can be served by the Utility Commission. This is strictly creating a manifold that these partner utilities can move water. This is not the only time it's been done. It's been done in other places. Donna will remember Darrell Blennis, who was the city manager for a while, went to Illinois, back to Chicago, and runs an organization that is just exactly like this. He works for the Joint Action Commission, whatever it is, but he has 7 customers. They sell water to those 7 customers. He's the executive director. So it's not new. It's all the way to there. It's all over the place.
It's
I
also,
see
a-
positives to it. It's
Yeah.
just, I just want to look at it deeper from,
Yep.
and because the water would likely come from Danville. I mean, Lincoln
Yes.
County
Well,
doesn't
that's
have enough
exactly,
water.
that's why it makes sense, is that the Dix River does run to Broadhead.
Right.
There, by the time it gets to Lake Harrington, which is why the dam at Lake Harrington was put where it was at, you have the capacity of the river to sustain the lake. So none of the other, like, for example, Lincoln County has no major water body that flows through it sufficient to dam it, to sustain a zero-flow stream. They're all zero-flow streams. Cedar Creek, people see it and they think, well, look at that body of water. But downstream of that's a zero-flow stream. So therefore, you can't really use it for drinking water. That stream does not support drinking water. And so, but that stream does discharge into the Dix River. So therefore, it does contribute, so water through that dam does contribute to Lake Harrington. So then at the end of the day, when you're looking at the efficiency of scale, then using a master plant and then charging this line with that water supply downstream at that sustainable location makes sense. So it's worth continuing to investigate, which is why Marcia and I brought it to you.
I think in a simple sense, too, it's an invitation to participate in a regional economic development opportunity. This has been brought to you before in past sessions. And Commissioner Peak, I'm not sure if this predates your time on the commission or not, so forgive me if it does. But there have been multiple opportunities in which prospective economic development opportunities have hinged upon the ability to have sufficient water, in which the city of Danville would be a critical partner. It's outside of the confines of Boyle County, but this is the way you participate in economic development, through the provision of utility. So this commission, or a commission, previous commissions have discussed this, been advised of it, and have expressed a desire to participate in development that would benefit Danville through not only the selling of water, because ultimately what happens is they contract with the city sells water, and they also contract with the city to do operations and maintenance. Again, the city's compensated for those efforts. So the city sells water, is contracted with to maintain the line, and then has an economic development benefit for prospective industrial base that is not in Boyle County, but potentially people residing here that work in these potential industrial sites. So that's the background of it that staff has been working on for quite some time, with those previous past economic development opportunities still in play. It's setting the table for those opportunities.
Okay, with all that being said, I get the indication the chair needs to call for a motion. Is there a motion to move this forward, or to table it, or X, Y, Z with it?
I'm going to make a motion that we approve the first reading of ordinance 2043, and that'll hopefully give Commissioner Peak a couple of weeks to vet out what she needs to find out. You need to be comfortable with your vote, for sure.
Second.
Thank you, sirs. We've had a lot of discussion, so I guess we just need to call for the question. And Madam Clerk, I guess you need to read something, don't you?
Yes.
And then we do a roll call vote?
This is the first reading of ordinance number 2043, an ordinance relating to the creation of the US 150 Corridor Water Commission.
Thank you, ma'am. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Cottle?
Yes, ma'am?
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Mayor Atkins?
Yes.
Commissioner Holland?
Yes.
Commissioner Saris?
Yes.
Thank you all.
Okay, so I have like 3 more questions for Earl. This will be private meeting, because this was all new to me.
Yes.
Like, these details were new to me.
Yes, I understand.
So next week, is that when you're meeting with us, or the
Yes.
week after?
Next week.
And you'll be here like Thanksgiving week?
No, that's this week.
Oh,
That's
that's
this
this
week.
week?
Yeah, next week.
Okay, so next week, okay.
Yeah.
I'll look at my calendar.
You see, you didn't share that stuff.
I didn't
You didn't
know.
share what you was drinking, did you? All right.
This Thursday morning, put it on your calendar. We'll meet,
I've been gone for a
we'll meet
week.
in City Hall. It'll be just me and you.
Yeah, I missed a week.
I invited you all to
Thank
my
you.
house for Thanksgiving at 2 o'clock this Thursday. No, this Thursday, right? And I won't be there, right? But I invited you all, right?
Can I take the first time out, Mayor?
What's that? All right, we have a need for a 5-minute break, so is there a motion to a break for 5 minutes? Are we
There
ready
is
to
for
move?
me.
By consent agenda? All right.
Okay. So, next week appointment.
Please. The next item on the agenda is our engineering report from Mr. Josh Morgan. That was 4 minutes and 59 seconds, guys. Y'all did good.
Yeah, thank you all. We'll go through this pretty quick because I feel like the parks discussion after this is going to be our main thing to talk about tonight. So, signature report, public works update. This is kind of our in-house stuff that we've been working on. A lot of sidewalk projects. We've finished up down here on Main Street west of the fire station. We've got the new sidewalk put in. New street lights just went up last week to kind of finish off the street lights in this block. Under construction right now, they're really close to having Swope Drive finished up, and then they'll move up onto West Lexington, just west of there. There's some sidewalk that's been damaged by trees and different things. We're going to clean some of that up, and then they're also they're going to finish up the one corner of Second Walnut, and then we'll move to the next corner there. Upcoming projects that we're eyeing for, it's probably going to be the spring once we get through. I mean, this is keeping us occupied through this until the end of the year, and then we'll have our snow season, and then so it'll probably be late winter, early spring. We'll start on these projects. The north we're looking at right now, the North Maple to Cross Hill is the next project we're looking at, which will go Maple Tree Place. There's a sidewalk when that development was done. They installed a sidewalk there. Then it stops. We would like to extend that along Maple up to Cross Hill, which will tie in Dexter Court. No, that's not Dexter Court. Coel Manor into downtown, and we'll give people access on Maple Avenue to Jackson Park. We'll give them a route into the park. So that's one that the Trails Alliance is really interested in that project being completed. And then Kentucky Avenue is another one we're looking at. We see a lot of students walking on Kentucky Avenue, either from kind of Lexington Avenue area over to Bate or from the Stanford Avenue area over to the high school. So, and that's one of the streets. There's sidewalks on Alta that comes around and then ties into Kentucky, but the gap from Alta to Lexington, there's no sidewalks. That's one we're going to try to work on next. That's going to be a little tricky with finding the right route and which side of the road, property owners and everything. And then we've been working some more on, this project we did this summer, school zone signage and markings over at Tolliver. We redid some sidewalks, redid some ramps, put some new striping in, some new signage, and just try to make that area a little safer for our students. Here's some pictures. I included this project. This is Clark's Run there near Michael Smith Park, just downstream of the pedestrian bridge. There was an old Lowhead Dam in the stream that had been, the sluice gate had been removed, so water was just flowing through, but actually water had started to flow around the side of it, and it had gotten, storm debris had piled up on it. That's the picture on the left. Is all, I mean, that you couldn't even see the dam. It was so covered in storm debris. So Public Works removed that debris, and then we removed half of the dam. There's a really interesting report about this. It was built in 1937 as a measure of mosquito control. It didn't work at all. It was a terrible idea. There's a great report that a student at Center did about it that shows that they had their worst season ever in 1938 of mosquitoes after they built it. They used crude oil. They poured crude oil in the creek and flushed it. It was a really bad idea. So we've gotten half of the dam removed. We've got a permit now from the state to remove the other half, so we're working to get that. That was a really, really good project that, we've kind of been eyeing for a couple of years. It started to really erode on the south side. As you can see in that picture, that whole kind of area out to the south had eroded around. And it was starting to slightly erode into the old landfill, which we definitely wanted to avoid. So this was really critical that we got this taken care of. Here's some more pictures of the sidewalk projects they've been working on. Cemeteries, we had a meeting a month or so ago about cemeteries. Cemetery committee met a couple weeks ago. There was a couple slight tweaks to the rules and regulations. They are going to finalize the rules and regulations at their December meeting. So my goal is to have that on the agenda for you all on the 9th to look at again, the final version of the rules and regulations. But I owe you all a marked up version of that so you can see it ahead of time before that meeting. So that's the date, the kind of timeline we're looking at now for rules and regulations. We talked that the committee talked fee schedule. We're going to review that in January, and then we'll bring that back to you all after that, and so forth, kind of into the budget season for the capital projects. Parks Master Plan, we'll skip over this. We're going to talk about that at the next agenda item. Wayfinding signage, this is an example of our downtown directory sign that Melanie has worked really hard on. We have 2 of those being made now. I think they're nearly complete and ready to install. So we've got a location picked out at Whizziger Park, and then we're gonna try to work with the county to identify a location at Constitution Square, which is just a map of downtown with all the landmarks noted on it, and then areas to list the downtown businesses, which Melanie has worked really hard with all of our downtown folks to make sure that is up to date and accurate. And it'll be something we'll have to constantly kind of evaluate and change as businesses come and go. And then we're still working on wayfinding signage and hopefully get a new, get that, I've got on here, brought to you in November, and I probably wrote that on that when I was initially going to bring this a month ago. We'll say December now for phase 2 sign locations. I'm pretty close to having that dialed in. Stormwater program, where the stormwater manual update, we're going to be able to start working on that in earnest now. The permit update just got completed a couple of weeks ago. They expect it to be finalized in December. So we're at a point now where we can start working on the manual update. Hopefully in the spring, we'll have a new version of that to bring to you all for approval. Twin Brook Culvert replacement, that design is underway, and hopefully construction in the spring. And then Subbasin S assessment will be the next project for us as staff. We're going to go do a mapping and condition assessment of Subbasin S, which I've put the map on there. It's really fuzzy because this was a low quality image that we zoomed in on. But you could kind of see it's the area, kind of the southwest quadrant of town, down behind Tractor Supply and off of Houstonville Road. So we'll work down from the kind of the commercial area, the intersection of Houstonville Road, the bypass, and work to the north through those neighborhoods. Hopefully out of that, we have a couple projects to bring back to you all. And then street and sidewalk projects, the Boffman Avenue, the design is complete, the permit review is complete. We have temporary easements and just a handful of right-of-way agreements that we need to get. We actually, the folks that live out there may have been contacted recently by our consultant to meet about easements and right-of-way. They're going to be here Monday, next Monday, the 2nd, to meet with folks and have kind of open house too. People that live down there want to come in, and hopefully we can get some of those documents signed. We're still eyeing, if we can get all that wrapped up, we can bid this project in after the new year and start construction this spring. And then the paving list, it's been completed, and I think everything went pretty well with that. We weren't able to do much of Smoky Way. We got the final invoice for everything that they completed. I think it was $308,000. We were eyeballing $330,000 as our max, so we got pretty close to the target we were looking for. We'll hit Smoky Way in the next 2025 paving list. And then trail system, the pedestrian refuge island is complete. We had the dedication ribbon cutting on Saturday. We're going to add some delineators and paint some curbs and try to make that a little more visible. And then the northern portion of the Woven Wire Mountain Bike Trail, a lot of folks aren't familiar with the mountain bike trail. It's kind of I say northern portion, but it's not really intuitive. That's the side we're speaking of. It's the side on goodness, I can't think of Honeywell side of the creek that was somewhat damaged during the sewer line project. We've been able to restore that. It needs some signage. It's kind of hard to find right now because it hasn't been ridden on much, and that's really the key for a trail being a good trail. Is it's used a lot. So we're trying to get folks out there and get it used some. We'll have some signage up soon that help people direct. But if they get out there, they should be able to locate it and ride on it or run on it. And then just miscellaneous projects we're going to start working on this winter. Got a lot of requests for traffic calming in neighborhoods where we ordered some more speed humps like the one we installed on Apache. We're eyeing Old Lexington and Rebel Road as the locations, the next 2 locations for those. Old Lexington, people will use as a cut through to avoid the signal at the connector road and Lexington Road. And then Rebel Road, we're not real sure what the cause of the high speeds through there are, but we have a lot of documentation of folks traveling. I think they're avoiding some of the commercial area on the south side. Rebel Road's behind Kroger. I think they're avoiding some of those commercial areas and cutting through neighborhoods. And to make that work as a shortcut, they have to go really fast because it doesn't really make sense as a shortcut. So we're going to do some things to try to slow people down back there. And then the downtown master plan, we've got a lot of projects we're working on. The bank demolition's on the agenda tonight. Just Walnut Street improvements. We've started there at Second and Walnut. We're going to keep working up and down the street. The Church Street extension, which we're working on. Just making slight improvements to the parking garage. I really need to get back into the signage around the parking garage, making sure people are finding it and know how to use it and know what the costs are and all those kind of things. And then pedestrian wayfinding, it fits into the directory sign. Now that we've kind of kicked off with that, we need to add some pedestrian wayfinding so folks can find their way around downtown. So, and then quick partner projects, the planning and zoning comp plan, working on that with them. The future land use map, public input process was this last month. We have a meeting scheduled with them, I think next week, to talk about the result of that input and how that's going to change what the draft future land use map look like. And the KPDI grant project, we're working hard to get as much money as we can spent by the end of the calendar year, because that's then grant eligible. And then we're still working with Republic to transition the downtown dumpsters, but that's kind of slowed down a little bit just due to some logistical issues and need. I think the need for that has kind of slowed down once we took care of a couple of trouble areas. So. And I know I went really fast. That's it. So I went really quickly. Are there any questions that you all have about anything else or anything on the slideshow?
Not a question, but I'll add to my comment that Kevin asked me to make about trail crossing. I didn't give kudos to you, Josh, making those signs. There's directional signs in our trails now, with also distance, telling you how far it is from point A to point B, so that's coming along nicely.
Yeah, and that's something we want to expand greatly along our trail system, because we've talked about, like, sometimes finding the right route around town doesn't necessarily need a trail. It just needs to point you to the least busy street to be on. So, like, you can ride your bike on a lot of streets in our town that just don't have a lot of vehicular traffic. So just kind of guiding people around town with some signage like that makes them feel comfortable. I know when I've run new places, I don't want to get my phone out to look and see how far I am from another street. Like, if I can see it on the signage, it's just a lot, especially on a bike. Nobody wants to get their phone out on a bike and start trying to do wayfinding. So.
Yeah, it points off for you not being there, though, in the cold.
Yeah.
In the drizzle.
Yeah, Thanksgiving dinner with the family to go to, so I wasn't able to come.
All right. So you say.
And Josh, the carts being removed, replaced by dumpsters downtown, big improvement.
Yeah.
And I know there's a few more to go, but they're beating you up, they're beating you down, aren't they?
Yeah.
They've made a big difference, though.
Yes.
Other comments or questions? If not, Josh?
All right, we'll move on to the next item. I'm going to hand it over to Tommy and let Tommy kick it off, right? And then we're going to hear from Mark as the committee chairman. John Cody's here to answer questions, if technical questions come up about design or numbers. And then I may close us out with kind of our next steps after this, just depending on how the conversation kind of goes. We're going to roll with it. But I'll let Tommy run with it from here.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, commissioners and mayor. It's good to see you here in November. I thought I would start this out. We are talking about future capital projects. I thought I'd butter you up a little bit with some of your recent capital projects. Give you an update. First of all, Michael Smith Park, we finished our first season. It went really well, very well used park. We're really needed on the south side of town. Relatively within budget, no financial or construction surprises, and as of, I don't know, I was there Saturday, it looks like all landscaping has lived through all the droughts of the spring, and which is rarely seen on a construction project where all your trees live through. We did lose one large tree during the hurricane, but Public Works was right on that, and they took care of that. So that's great. You should be very proud of that park. It's awesome. Jeannie Rogers Community Center and Early Learning Center. It's hard to express the success we've had there. I mean, you have two successful service ventures working in one building. You have the Boyle County Early Learning through the Boyle County Daycare, or Boyle County School District. I believe they're serving 40 kids in there now a day with the capacity to go up to 100. which hopefully, they'll be up to, full scale. And then on the other side of the building, you got our community center, which we've partnered with several organizations to complete the mission. We have 4 nonprofits that we not lease rooms to, but basically partner with and let them use school rooms. I mean, we don't have the staff to fill all those rooms, so they're providing their services out of there. We've partnered with Danville Admiral Academy, Danville After School Program. Center College has really stepped up and helped us out. I believe we have 2 or 3 Bonner students who kind of mentor, kind of walk around the building on kind of keeping everything under control. They also help us with our marketing and things like that. It is averaging 70 to 100 people through there a day in just the last 2 or 3 months. And it has really picked up as soon as the weather changed. Mainly young teens. I believe, Mark, we had our meeting there last Wednesday. The Park Commission was amazed at the foot traffic through there. It's got its growing pains, but our clientele are young teens, so I mean you're gonna have some issues there, but we're working through them. But on any given night, what I call the common areas, they're playing basketball, they're playing air hockey in the game room, but we also have cooking classes, dance classes, karate classes, youth theater going on. We just finished up an ASL class for the community. We have yoga, and my favorite is there's what I call now the homework cafe, where kids after school are up. We have a little cafe that they can get hot chocolate at, and they sit and do their homework there. So kudos for the vision of that, and Josh was a big part of that. It's been a big success, and we only see it growing and getting larger. So with that said, we're going to go into future capital projects. I'm going to explain how we got here a little bit, kind of do a little recap. And then I'm going to mainly kind of briefly go through that one sheet you have. I don't want to go through the whole slideshow, but I do believe you received a slideshow, correct? When the Park Commission, it took us about an hour and a half to get through that. So I'm going to kind of bullet point that, and then we're going to bring Mark up here to, as chair of the Park Commission, give their recommendations. But how we got here on a joint meeting in early March of this year, it seemed to be we had the fiscal court and the commission meet, and we pivoted away from the Jeannie Rogers construction of a pool there to focus on and we were asked to focus on our current aquatics and indoor rec. This directly reflected with the 2018 master plan, all the surveys and community input, which were 1 and 2, expand aquatics and create indoor rec, multipurpose courts and facility. Then in August, we got back together, and at that point, we were asked to look into pickleball expansion. So we put a lot on John Cody at Bear Becker. He's with us today if you need to ask any questions also. He researched all these options and presented their findings with costs to the Parks Committee on Wednesday, November 20th, which again, I believe you've all received that slideshow. I'm going to quickly go through that a little bit here. If you look at it, I believe in that March meeting, it was mentioned that the Bunny Davis could be fixed for around $3 million, and that's what these numbers are. That option 1, that is not changing. I might add a little 2 cents in here, but that does not change the footprint of the Bunny Davis at all. That is the same pool, same bathhouse, nothing done to the actual Bunny Davis building or the entrances. It's more getting a new pool shell, getting a new pool deck. There is cosmetic work done to the bathhouse. There is some new equipment in there. I would assume the sand filters and some pumping is the same, but it really doesn't change that footprint. It's the same pool house. It's the same pump room. It's the same pool for about $3 million. Your option 2 on there, That is expanding the pool to 8 lanes, which has been recommended to us by swim teams that are currently using the facility. It also adds a beach entry / like kiddie pool area. So it does expand the footprint. It does improve the entrance ramps, but still it is just not an overhaul of the whole pool house and pump room. So that figure came in at around 5.4 million. Your next two figures on there is a complete renovation of the bathhouse pool house. So whatever, if you chose an option there, if you wanted to redo the bathhouse completely, changing it all around and completely changing the pump room around, which I'm the one in that every day, I strongly suggest that. It's a 1.5 million. To expand the parking lot would be a 2.6 million. That actually is expanding the parking lot and it actually removes the pickleball courts from that area. So that's a big consideration. That complete overhaul with parking, complete bathhouse and pump room came to 9.5 million, which still was a little cheaper than the Jeannie Rogers pool. On number 3, those are pool enclosure options. We talked about in both the fiscal court and commission meetings, possibly putting some kind of enclosure over it so we could keep it open during the year, maybe expand usage. Temporary enclosure, 1.9. I will add with that, we have been told, I think John can confirm, that if you added that, you can't leave it up. You have to take it down because it's a temporary structure. To take it down, it costs $50,000. To put it up, it costs $50,000. So that brings on a heavy cost. A permanent pool enclosure, which would be there all year long, was 2.6. And then, of course, the granddaddy of them all, retractable pool enclosure, which could open and close, was 3.7. Now, I must add to that if this is considered at Bunny Davis, it's an old building, it's an old pool house, an enclosure could not be attached to the old structure. So that would mean, if you chose one of these structures, it would mean you would have to walk out from the bathhouse to outside, then walk into the pool. So would it really help? I don't know. Does it guarantee that we would need extra parking because of winter usage? I don't know. So those are the Bunny Davis, kind of in a nutshell to go through quickly. Option 4 here is an indoor rec building. We use the site plan and footprint of the building that I constructed at my previous job in Muhlenberg County, which was a 4-court, multiple court. You could have pickleball, volleyball, basketball, soccer, archery, any number of sports on these courts. You'd have the lining for them, the curtains that divide, 4 courts, meeting rooms, offices, site work, walk, and this is considered at the Millennium Park flat area where the skate park is. That came in at about 12.9 million. And what we did, I've met with the pickleballers, because as you remember, one of the pickleball ideas was to put it in that particular area by the skate park to do a really expanded 12-court with shelter pickleball facility. There was 3.9 million. But what this does is this serves, like we said, from age 8 to 80. I won't say who it was, but one of our commissioners had a great marketing slogan. He said, "Diaper to diaper." I thought that was kind of clever. But anyway, I got sidetracked. What we did is we said, what about an indoor rec building that has outdoor pickleball courts that could use the bathrooms in the indoor rec? So we had them put some outdoor pickleball courts around the building, and we added an outdoor basketball court because the building footprint would go over the existing basketball courts at Millennium Park. So With those outside features added, the indoor rec facility came to about 13.7. And then we started really thinking outside the box. And I asked John, I said, why don't we combine the two? Let's put them both together and see what it comes up with. So that's what you have there at number 5 and number 6. That is the indoor multiple court, 4-court indoor rec center with an adjacent pool attached to it. The first, number 5, that is an indoor complete pool. That is not an outdoor pool. That's indoor at $21.6 million. The one that surprised me the most is the indoor rec facility with a retractable aquatic roof, which is the granddaddy of them all. That, because it's new construction, it can be attached to the building. So that does mean when the retractable roof closes and the pool's covered, you're going straight from the indoor rec center into the pool without going outside. So, but that option came at around 19 million. And if you add the outdoor pickleball courts, outdoor basketball court, you add in another 725,000. So that is what we presented to the commission, along with the pickleball feasibility study, which you guys have reviewed, which talked about a Millennium Park 12-court facility for $3.9 million. The other option was a 12-court pickleball facility between tennis and soccer at 3.7, and then the other option was just to renovate the courts that we did have at Bunny Davis and Jackson Park, which came in at $375,000. So I will answer questions on that. I'm going to bring Mark up here to give he's going to give the official as the president of the Park Commission chair. He is going to give you their recommendations, and then we'll both gladly answer some questions, any questions you have. Does that sound good? All right, thank you, Mark. Mark, you're up.
Thank you all. Before our meeting last week, I went around the Jenny Rogers facility, and I walked into a room and I saw Alethea from Ag Extension, and there were about 10 young teenagers in there, and they were all learning to cook. They were learning different meals, and it was males and females, about 50-50, different demographics, and I thought, this facility is a great thing for our town. I went into different rooms, saw kids doing different things. They were talking to each other. It was all positive, so feel good about that. In July 2020, you all signed an MOA with the fiscal court, creating what used to be the Parks and Rec Board into the Parks and Rec Committee, and you've tasked us with advising you and the fiscal court, and tomorrow morning we're going to do that at fiscal court. And you've tasked us with coming up with an idea as to where Danville needs to go and how we know when we get there, where the goal line is and how we know what that goal line looks like when we're there. Rather than the city commission and the fiscal court doing this, our committee of 7 people, which represents, if you sat in on one of our meetings, and some of you have, you'll see that we represent different streams in our city and our county, and we're proud of that. But we had consensus on the direction to go. When we got there, it was after a 2-hour meeting, and we took into account that our report is that our indoor rec programs that my kids were in, that a lot of your all's kids were in, which has always been really successful. It's been at Jenny Rogers, it's been at Tolliver, it's been at Perryville Junction, so on and so forth, The schools are now using those gyms, and they have to cut off Parks and Rec League, practice time, game time, et cetera. And for Parks and Rec to do that, they're also having to send staff to all these different facilities to keep everything organized and monitored. So based upon that, we talked about that during our discussion and how an indoor rec facility could alleviate that problem. We'd have staff efficiency, and I know from running our business for so many decades here, your labor costs eventually outweigh your capital expenditures. You've got to keep an eye on how to use your labor costs efficiently. And we took that into account because we get great economies of scale with an indoor rec facility. Our staff could be on hand in an efficient way throughout practice, throughout games, et cetera, whether it be basketball, volleyball, pickleball, whatever it is, it made sense. So what the staff came up with, we looked at John Cody and Bear Becker's numbers and the slideshow that's been presented to you all. We gave that out. There were members of the public there at our meeting, and we gave that out to them. I ran the meeting a little bit differently, and I had a dialogue. I allowed a dialogue with some of the interest groups that were in the room at different times throughout the meeting so that our committee, when we finally reached consensus, I could come before you and go before the fiscal court in the morning and tell you that we had a consensus that we really took into account many of the interest groups as well as the different demographics within our community. And what the committee voted for unanimously was an indoor rec facility. We saw that as a must for Danville, Boyle County. It checks a lot of boxes. An indoor rec facility with indoor and outdoor basketball, an indoor rec facility with indoor and outdoor pickleball, an indoor rec facility with indoor and outdoor volleyball. We started looking, even though the numbers grew large, we started looking at how we have tried to keep Bunny Davis going, and we've done a good job of doing it and available to our community for so many years. But I was there when the Agora Club was built, and I was talking to Tim, and they didn't envision that facility that they were building going into 2024, 2025. That wasn't the initial investment they were making. They were making a shorter term investment. We've done a great job of keeping it going, and I've been to several fiscal court and city commission meetings and joint meetings, and we've talked about this and kicked the can down the road, and finally it's at a point where our committee said that we need to take the lead and tell you and the other governing body for the county that what the community wants is the indoor rec facility with an outdoor pool attached with a retractable roof and capacity for water heating, and we want it at the fairgrounds. The fairgrounds is now part of Millennium Park. In our mind, White's Park is now part of Millennium Park. The 4-H buildings are now part of Millennium Park. There's a rubble field that has not been addressed where the old fairgrounds facilities were, and we have a beautiful park and a beautiful expanded park and beautiful tennis, et cetera, and we haven't addressed that to its best capacity. So we see putting it there, addressing the rubble pile, locating it there, we know that there's going to have to be sewers run under 127, the bypass, to get the storm sewers there and the sanitary sewers. And that's what, and keep the Bunny Davis Club going during construction, and then either utilize it for another purpose or sell it and recoup some of the investment. But obviously, it's going to take both governing bodies, and we are of the opinion that by our joint committee that represents both governing bodies and has appointments from both governing bodies can take the lead, and you all can tell your constituents that you're addressing in the right way and in a final way the needs of our community. And if it has to be bonded, that you can tell your constituents that you're following the committee which represents their wishes as the public to you as public servants. Thank you.
Mark, one quick question on the two-page handout. We have the recommendations for item number 6 and 7.
It's basically 6, 7, but it also, we're changing the location. It's more 6. But we're, yeah, 6 and 7, you're
6 and
right.
7,
You're
yeah.
right, Mayor.
Both of them, yeah.
But we thought it's time to really get together, not get down in the weeds and digress into other matters between these two governing bodies. But you charged us with responsibility to put this together and to advise you, and we're doing it. Thank you.
And then the second question from the mayor is that items 6 and 7 does not the site work is not included, site work at the fairgrounds.
Yeah, there would be additional costs with the fairgrounds.
Right, okay,
We
yeah.
believe. We
Fairground,
just don't
yeah.
really have that number.
No, that's all right. I
We
just
put it
wanna-
at Millennium Park, and, as the time got to the end,
I'm just trying to make sure we all understand what we're
yeah,
saying.
there would
right?
be,
Okay, yeah.
we'd figure there'd be additional
Well,
costs there, yeah.
Well, first of all, let's thank you guys for bringing such an aggressive proposition before the city commission. Thank you for that, and the committee and all the volunteers. And then, with that said, let's open up for comments, unless Josh has something else.
If I may, I want to elaborate a little bit on, he talked about the basketball program. We currently have 61 teams. We have over 700 kids. We have 61 basketball teams and 10 cheer squads. So I'm going to just try to do some quick math here for you. 61 teams playing twice a week. That means we have to have 61 games. And in a gym on a night, you can have 3. So you can see the math, you don't have to go much further. So we're kind of running out of spots to play. And I don't want to disparage the schools because, as we all know, there's way more sports than when we all went through school. There is archery in the gyms. There are travel teams practicing in the gyms. So they do need to serve their clientele. So I understand that. I don't want to knock them. But we lost Junction. We used to use 6 nights a week. We can only use Junction 2 nights a week. Woodlawn, we used to be able to use 5 nights a week. Now we can only use it 3 nights a week. And Tolliver was 6 days a week, and now we're down to 5 days a week. These are just changes that happened this year. And I believe in that meeting, we were told by some authorities at Danville that just to keep expecting it to get worse and worse.
Yeah, just to clarify, Ernest Dunn, who a lot of you know, is on the committee. He voted for this, and he shared with us that we can only expect, no matter how much the schools appreciate what Parks and Rec is doing, the demands on their facilities are increasing, not decreasing. So expect this problem to become more critical in the future. That's what Ernest said.
And to throw one more on there, I've sat with Stephanie and done the math. So with those 61 teams, we are able to do that if we had three courts. We could do that in 6 days, with Saturday obviously being double the capacity. So that means Jeannie Rogers is 1, 2 at this facility, which always leaves 2 courts open to the public. So if you're thinking about it, that's why we have 4. So when we're running our basketball program from December to March, we are still able to offer 2 open courts to the public. So if the pickleballers wanted to play pickleball, we could have 2 courts open or 4 courts open. Or if the youth volleyball wanted to play while we're doing our basketball, we would always keep 2 courts open to the public. If that makes sense.
I want to add one other thing. One thing that we discussed at our committee meeting, we had information that Lebanon and a couple, Bardstown, different towns are already ahead on this indoor rec need, meeting this indoor rec need. And Tommy comes to us from Muhlenberg County, where they've already met it. And in Bowling Green, it's been met, et cetera, et cetera. And the numbers that we were told for construction, you've got to look at the dates, you've got to consider inflation, et cetera, but the numbers varied widely. So I can't thank Bear Becker enough for giving us numbers, but those numbers are subject to some competitive bidding.
Other questions or comments from the commission? Hope you all are getting excited about this.
Definitely. I think city manager and a couple of us were talking about some of the places you mentioned that have these. I kind of want to know how they paid for them. I suspect some or all of them have the restaurant tax, which alleviates some general fund pressure. And
I know E-Town does, and I think Bardstown does. I don't think Lebanon does, but I think, but Lebanon's came in, they used a different contractor than is normally here, and we're going to explore that. But he apparently did a good job and significant savings.
I'm just going to interject, some of the cities that are more akin to Danville in population size and budget size that don't have the restaurant tax are bonding, recouping, most through user fees, but there is general fund contributions.
okay. So this could be a revenue generator.
It could be,
To a
but
degree.
I'd also say, if we can get the county and the city to agree to move forward on this, I will put all my effort into marketing and naming rights, sponsorship, donors. I believe we can get some of that cost now. Can we get a lot? I don't know. In my past, we've raised 1 to 1.5 million in naming rights. I would kind of hope I could get this to at least 2, but I don't know if I can get much higher than that. But and the way we did that is we let the donors pay those over a 5 to 10 year period, which then we put it into debt service with those donations. It was one way to help out.
Question, ongoing operational costs. In your experiences, the fees, the rental fees and all those types of things help maintain or help offset quite a bit of that operational cost?
Will it break even?
No, it won't break even.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I think some of these rec centers staff them way too heavy. I don't think you really need a large staff. I think if there's a way to move to the current leadership of the Parks and Rec into a facility like that, would help alleviate some staff issues. Do I think could pay for operational fees? It would be close. I think so.
Some.
If you add in travel tournaments and the economic impact that does for the city, I think that brings you a lot. I would say, in my experience, on a 2-day basketball tournament, we took in profit about $6,000 a year, just $6,000 a weekend just in concessions, plus the rental of the facility. So, we don't do that all the time, but, 10 weekends a year, it can go a long way for that. But I do think it can get close to covering operational fees. Now, the one thing we had is we had a unique deal where the school district paid our utilities. So that made it obvious that's how we were able to do that. So if you add in utilities here, I had to kind of do a lot of number crunching, but I still think, you're providing a big service, you're providing economic development. There's a lot of other options that can help out. So.
What about liquidating the Bunny Davis Center? I mean, is that something we plan on, is that something you?
Well, I would leave that decision to
Was that a consideration?
to higher
that you all
pay
had?
than me. What's that?
Was that a consideration, something you all?
It was bantered about that it could be, the staff, more than likely would be moved over to a new building. We could incorporate a lot of what we do at Bunny Davis between the two at Jeannie Rogers and this new facility, such as aerobics, and things like that. So a lot of things we do in at Bunny Davis would be moved into the new two facilities. Can I promise all of them?
Weight room.
Yeah, I don't know if I can promise all.
Just curious.
Well, still, it's a great proposal.
Yeah.
Great price in my mind, too, but. So we talked about being a bold city commission. It's one of those grand opportunities to be bold.
Thank you all for hearing.
Well, you guys did a
Thank
good
you.
job. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah. Yeah, good job. And this is the first proposal I've seen that actually checks every single box all in one. So well done. And I was really shocked that combining actually saved money.
And I was gonna bring that.
That shocked me, so.
If you did number 2, fix the Bunny Davis up at 5.4 and build an outdoor rec or indoor rec at another facility.
Yeah.
It's more than the 2 combined, which can save on operations costs.
Right. So, well done.
And we could move forward rather quickly and easily when we get that 50% buy-in by our friends
That's
tomorrow
correct.
morning, right?
I will be there tomorrow morning at 9. I'm sure they've got a heads up because at our park commission committee meeting, Rick was there. He knew what direction going. We had the fiscal court, a few representatives from there at our meeting, so we'll see how it goes tomorrow.
Yeah, I talked to Jason Cullen, and he was a real gentleman during our meeting. He was very helpful, and afterwards, he communicated with me, and he was very positive with the committee's recommendation when I talked to him. I can't speak for Jason, but I certainly was appreciative of the detailed response and the positive response he was sharing with me.
Well, you guys did what you were tasked to do. We appreciate that. I personally, like fellow commissioner here, like number 6, and maybe with the add on pickleball, but we got to see where the money comes from. But I think that if you look at pieces, and you brought that up, Tommy, you just look at the pieces.
Well, and keep in mind now, 6 and 7. Don't get locked on 6 now.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna do the thing and do it in totality, we need 6 and 7. And some additional site work.
And just for your knowledge, pickleball fits 2 on a court, so the indoor facility would be able to have 8 pickleball courts. Indoor.
Year round.
Josh, you want to add anything?
Yeah, our next steps, I kind of had noted down, where we go from here to keep things moving. Number 1 was collaborate with the county, because obviously it's going to have to be a joint project that we work on together. So they're going to be there tomorrow. We'll start working with them on how they envision this working together. We've already started discussions with them on updating the agreement that has to be renewed.
Correct.
This summer. It expires in summer of 2025. So I think all that'll fit together in that conversation of how they want to work with us on the project. We're going to continue to explore partnerships. Earl and I were talking before the meeting that whether it's fiscally partnering with us or how, there's still some opportunities there that we need to make sure that we don't miss out on. This is the time, if we're ever going to do it, now's the time to do it. And then once we get all that kind of work together, who's involved, the county, any partnerships, I think we need to go tour some comparable facilities, start really kind of zeroing in on what we want the project to look like and where we want it to go, which is another big part of this. I mean, we talked the fairgrounds, but like there's some real details there that we're a long way from getting into that. And once we know those things, then we'll have a good funding amount that we need. Then we can start talking about what our recommended funding strategy is. One of the things we asked the committee some pointed questions to really get like really simple questions that we wanted the answers to. And one of them we asked was, from their perspective, what was a priority, indoor rec or expanded aquatics? And the committee unanimously said indoor rec was the priority over expanded aquatics, which I think is something that's changed even in the past 5 years. I think this has shifted really quickly, just based on the need and what other communities are doing. So, we were talking about that. Even if we look at if the funding requires a phased approach, where we're going to, let's have a plan that involves both, but maybe we focus on indoor rec. So we'll factor that all that into the funding strategies. And then I had to develop operational plan. I think that once we kind of know the facility we want, then Tommy can work up an operational plan. So going into it, the city and the county both know what their share of the operations is going to be. I think that's important that the county, we both ahead of time both know what we're annually going to need to provide to the facility to make it work. So those are kind of our next steps, and we're going to try to knock all this out in the next couple of months. I mean, that's really our goal, and have by January, February, have a good route in mind. Going back to Bunny Davis, after the conversation last week, at the end of it all, I think it kind of took Bunny Davis off the table a little bit. I mean, when they said we want expanded aquatics at this new facility that would possibly be located at the Fairgrounds Millennium Park area, I don't know if there's a need for us to invest heavily in Bunny Davis. We had that $3 million number we were kind of throwing around, and they'll talk to the county about that tomorrow either. But I think that kind of pulls back a little bit at this point. Tommy and I were talking earlier. If we just can't figure out a way to pay for the new facility, then maybe we turn back and look at the $3 million project just to get Bunny Davis along. But right in the meantime, Tommy and I are going to take a really hard look at what it would take just to get us open this summer. It's going to take somewhat of an investment for us just to open this summer. We're gonna try to have that number and that plan figured out in the next few weeks, so that could be part of this whole conversation of, okay, it's going to be 3 years, 5 years, whatever, till we get an indoor facility or a new pool done. In the meantime, we'll keep Bunny Davis limping along at these kind of cost numbers. We're hoping to have that for you as well.
And I don't know how Josh feels, but in our talks with the county, I don't know if, I don't get quite a good feel of what they would commit to Bunny Davis. Maybe I'll find more out tomorrow, but it's from the last few meetings, I don't know if we could get, and when we did this feasibility study, I know that they didn't jump in on that, so I don't know what their commitment to Bunny Davis would be, but like I said, we'll hopefully find some information out tomorrow.
Yeah, my thing is, I keep looking at the finance officer down there. And
Yeah.
she keeps looking at me and smiling and giving me the thumbs up so I can finance it all.
There
So,
was no thumbs up. Let the record show.
well,
One of the things I'd just continue to want to press upon the community is when we've looked at the aquatics thing for 15 years now, on and off, and every time we've looked outside of the box, everybody says that these are done through partnerships. Very rarely in a town our size does the city or county itself, unless the restaurant tax exists, has the financial resources to fund something like this by itself. Taylor County, for example, is a partnership with the schools. Versailles and Falling Springs is partnership with the schools. There's areas and facilities where there's partnerships with the hospitals that do community centers. We have one here in our community. So exploring those partnerships is critical, and I think that Tommy, in his experience at Muhlenberg County, had a private donation that was equivalent to a partnership that was more significant than the $20 million investment that's on the table here. And so I just caution everybody involved that we do need partnerships in order to operate it, to maintain it, to own it. Everybody that had participated in the development of something similar to this has said that to us. And
But at
that's
the
been
same time,
over an
I think-
extended period of time.
But I think at the same time, though, if we have to tell the community that we're doing
Yep.
A, B, C, D, and E, and we have to have that decided before we go out and solicit partnerships and everything. You know, we got to have community buy into that. This is what we need. If it's what we need, then we got to make that bold decision, and the county's got to make that bold decision and say, here's what we're going after. If you're willing to get on this wagon and go along with us as a partner, then we need your help. You're welcome to come and do it. But we got to have something. We got to have something to tell them that our goal is.
Mayor, I think that right there is the profound missing piece that we've never
Yeah,
done.
we don't have.
We've never done that as a community too, and
Yeah.
said, this is what we need to do.
Yeah.
How do we do it? And I do think that's subtle. That statement is very subtle,
Yeah.
but it's a critical piece.
Go back to Millennium Park. There was a lot of debate about Millennium Park. And we finally, as a community, decided we were going to have Millennium Park, and then we went for it. And we put it out there, and so a lot of people joined in with us, but we didn't aggressively pursue partnerships back then. We just went out there and we got it done. So we got to take this on as if this is a project that is crucial to the survival of our community. Then we put it out there, what we're going to do, and then we solicit input from outsiders. The Bunny Neighbors Pool, it may last one more summer, it may not. So we got to get a move on.
Mayor, if I could, for 1 second, I'd be remiss if I didn't just make one note of the record on the process that was employed in this particular situation and commend the work of Mark and Tommy and Josh. It's not often that what we draw up years prior actually plays out to plan. In this particular case, what various commissioners, fiscal court magistrates, and a lot of staff time developed in a joint parks venture through the redevelopment of Parks and Recreation in our operating agreement that we negotiated between the parties, and the recreation or revisioning of the Parks Committee. It has worked in this case masterfully well. And I would say a large part of that is due to Mark's masterful precision in pursuing what was drafted intentionally. His comments tonight prove that he has read our agreement. He knows the charge of the committee. He has accepted the responsibilities and has directed it in a powerful way to bring what not either the court or the commission in various meetings were able to achieve. And I say that because the way it was drafted was that the work of the committee is critically important in identifying the right thing to do at the right time, in the right ways, at the right place. And that has been now directed through Mark's leadership and Tommy's influence and Josh's to present that to you. This is the first time in what has been seemed like a millennium that we have gotten to this point. And the work of the committee is critical on that. So what you do is seen, it is appreciated and heard, and it is what has been drawn up. So it's nice that we get to that, because I wish every partnership we had and the leadership on those committees would review those fundamental formational documents to see how we should act, execute it, and deliver recommendations which are powerful when done in the process in which they were developed to do. So thank you for your work.
Stephen, thank you. Thank you. I'm really uncomfortable with that sort of recognition, but I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm really uncomfortable with that.
Well, Mark, if
It's a due.
I was just trying to do my job. Thank you.
Mark, if that makes you uncomfortable, well, I've been down there for 14 years now, and this is the first time I've agreed with him in totality. So I really agree with his statement tonight, so
Thank you.
I echo that.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioners, any other comments or questions?
Yeah, real quick, and this is a sidebar. Money's the biggest thing, and collaboration's huge. But if we do go the route of number 6 and go indoor and build, we won't lose services in between. We can still have Bunny Davis going, we can still have pickleball courts going. In some of the other scenarios, you're gonna lose something.
Correct.
And so, if it makes the community feel good, it makes me feel good that we continue.
6 and 7. I keep appreciating him, 6 and 7. Y'all need to put 6 and 7 together in one number. I'm just joking. Good luck tomorrow morning. And don't be surprised if some of us don't show up. So, all right? All right. Josh, you have a couple more items. We just table them to, oh, let's go.
Now, we'll knock these out real quick. The first item, we received bids on the demolition of the old US Bank building here at 111 South 4th Street. We got 6 bids, good competitive bid, and the low bid was from Innovative Demolition Services in the amount of $91,828. That's in line with the amount we would expect of this. The old fire station was in that similar area, in the 90s, after we did a change order for some asbestos. So it's very similar scale to that project. And Innovative Demolition Services, they were the contractor that demolished Walker Hall for us 3 or 4 years ago. So we're familiar with them, they do a good job, so we recommend award of the bid to them.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve Resolution 2024-112503.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you, sir. Any other questions or comments?
Can we talk them into blowing it up? I just want to see somebody just blow one up.
I can ask and
Yeah,
see.
just check.
It'd be more expensive, though, to blow it up. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Josh, you got the next one?
Yes, in your package, you have an agreement with Centos to do fire inspection services for the city for the next year. Centos has been doing these services for us now for a couple of years. I've reviewed this proposal. The fire marshal, Scott Lawson, has reviewed this proposal. These numbers are based on a government bid contract, so these are previously bid numbers. And it's just, I could read them off here, but they're per extinguisher, it's $5.18 per extinguisher inspection and $11.51 per emergency exit light inspection, those kind of things. So there's sprinkler inspection, alarm inspection, backflow inspection, kitchen inspection, and then a service charge on top of that. So those are kind of the numbers that are included.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-112504.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir.
I had a question. This is good stuff to do. It's always good stuff to do, watch safety, but on another note, does it impact our insurance to have stuff like this checked?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Liability,
I'm not
yeah.
sure exactly. I mean, these are required. We
Okay,
get get violations if we don't complete these inspections. So it's more driven on that end than anything.
And it would likely be that we don't necessarily get a discount or anything on our insurance, but if we were found to be negligent, it could be very problematic in the future.
It's a great question, young man. Any other questions or comments?
Mayor, I'll just say, to their point, we do our annual risk and workers' comp inspection every year, and this comes up as part of it. So there is opportunity for us to get a reduced risk rating when we do our inspections. We do our monthlies ourselves internally, but Centos will do an annual inspection and replacement of fire extinguishers. So there is a potential there for us to reduce our workers' comp and our general liability fees, programs like this.
No, I was just joking. That was Mr. Board, our human resources person. We was deciding whether or not to make you go to the podium and repeat that, but no.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, been properly moved in second. Any other questions or comments? And not all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed likewise, motion carries. Thank you. Chief Bray. Thank you, sir.
Mayor, Commissioners, we just got an update to our duty weapons policy. Over the last few years, we've transitioned for the 40 caliber weapons to the 9mm Glocks. Pretty much most of that policy just goes into taking out, changing the language from 40 calibers to 9 millimeters. We've also, now with school shootings and active shooter things, we've equipped every officer with an AR-15 type rifle. Added that into the policy as well. And shotguns are mainly used for less lethal beanbag rounds. Pretty much that covers most of the new weapons update.
Wow. Thank you, sir. Is there a motion, first of all, to approve this?
I'll make a motion to approve municipal order 11-2501, 2024.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Now, questions and comments? All right. All those in favor of approving this municipal order, I'm sorry.
Aye.
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 Don't have a roll call vote, do I? You get that look like, what you doing, do? All right, thank you all. Motion carries opposed. There is not a need for an executive session tonight?
There is a
We had it
need
earlier?
for an executive session for property acquisition and personnel.
We had it earlier, right? The chair would like to entertain a motion to not go into executive session.
Second.
You didn't even read it. Is there a motion to go into executive session for property acquisition
And personnel.
and personnel? Oh, my God, it won't be 5 minutes.
6 and 7.
6 and
6 and 7, right? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel matter pursuant to KRS 618101F and for property acquisition. Motion to go in for under 618101B. Is that right?
All right. Is there a motion, a second?
Second.
Ms. Holland said, oh. You second it? All right, there's a motion and second to go into executive session. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those
Gotta
opposed?
do it, we gotta do it.
in regular session. City Manager, you have some things for us?
Yes, sir, thank you. Staff is recommending the hiring of Brandon Million to the position of Network Administrator.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you all. All those in favor of hiring Brandon, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed likewise. Congratulations to Brandon.
Absolutely.
Got another one for us?
No, sir.
Well, the chair would like to entertain a motion to adjourn then.
I'll move to adjourn.
Whoa. Is there a
Second.
Thank you all. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries.